Sorry about that. Technical difficulties off the top. It has been a while since I have produced and commentated, Elliot, but we are cooking now with grease. That is for sure. Let me get some things sorted out here now that this is all back up to snuff. The field getting gridded on the front straightaway. Hunter Madalinas on the pole. The first time we've seen him on track in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, got a couple new faces in here. Madalinas, Greg Mitchell we haven't seen, new to the series. We've got Brandon Barkowski making a return, qualified 7th tonight. Just continuing to go down the pylon here. Alex Fox, Nicholas Martinez, Christopher Heller. A few guys that we either haven't seen in a while or are brand new to this series that are looking to make a name for themselves here. A lot of guys didn't qualify tonight, though. Out of 21 cars, we only had 14 of them qualify, so a third of the field decided to queue. The other third, I think, is going to wait this out and see how it goes. The cars are very loose with this setup, so we'll have to see how they handle the beginning with the cold tires and exactly how they want to run this fuel strategy, and if we end up with any yellows to kind of throw them the loop.
Yeah, a lot of these guys, pullovers from the Great Lakes Truck Series. Much different car, a lot different expected tonight. These runs are going to be a lot longer than what they're used to. Elliot, how does that play into a lot of these guys whose names we recognize, like Hunter Madalinas, Nathan Jump, William Barbagelato, Shane Nicewanger, all those guys there in the top 5? How is that going to change? Really, I guess what I'm asking is this in their wheelhouse, or is this something completely foreign to them?
I think guys like Jump and Barb are going to be pretty solid here. We haven't really seen Shane do a lot of these types of races, but he has messed around with the late models and been used to higher horsepower vehicles. Zach Henry should be pretty solid here tonight. But the guys that I'm really interested in that we feel are pretty good at these types of cars, guys like Jackson Sims, Hunter Brittle, that didn't really get a great qualifying effort tonight. We're gonna have to see how they kind of progress through the field, because usually we always see Sims as the guy that can really save tires, and Brittle's a guy that usually can manage the high horsepower and manage the rear tires as well. So we'll have to see how they progress. But yeah, I think a lot of your top 5, top 6, they're all kind of your heavy hitters, and we kind of expect them to be exactly where they are. The only other guys that didn't qualify that I think are going to be interesting to watch are going to be like Matt Durr and Christopher Heller. But otherwise, I think most of your guys are up front. Although, don't count out Spencer Owens, starting 15th, did not queue. Not sure if he's running this one to the end, but he's usually our guy that doesn't qualify and finds himself up inside the top 5 anyway.
Excellent points there. Let's take you through the starting lineup just as quick as we can, as we're a corner away from the green flag. On the front row, it is Hunter Madalinas and Nathan Jump.
And row 2 will be Greg Mitchell with William Barbagelato at his outside.
Mike McConville, Shane Nicewanger take up row 3. Brandon Barkowski, Zach Henry in row 4.
With Eric Heff and Jackson Sims, your top 10. We're going to watch the pace car pull off, and they take the green for 200 laps here at Charlotte tonight.
Pace car makes that hard left turn. Flagman's got it. Green flag is in the air now, and we are racing at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
A little bit of a delay there with the restart zone and everything. And that's actually going to help Jump. I think Madalinas wanted to wait for the green flag to really come out. Jump's going to get a pretty good jump on the outside. Madalina's going to go into the corner. You can see a little bit of sparks flying as the tires are pretty low on air pressure, and they're all going to have to come up. Pretty big deal in these cars. Like I said, they're going to be loose to begin with, and they probably won't get too much better throughout the run. Madalina's to the point.
Loose is fast. You saw sparks coming out of all of these cars on the track as these things bottom out heavily through turns 3 and 4 as we come off of 4 to complete lap 1. Elliot, the tire pressures, something I always think about just a little bit. Ooh, there's a William Barbagelato. Looked like he got a little loose there. That start-finish saves it. It's another part of that horsepower we were talking about.
Yeah, these cars are going to travel a little bit down the straightaways. It's obviously a dog leg here. It's on a straightaway, so as they're making that left-hand turn, the car will kind of move a little bit as they move across the dog legs. So watch for those guys to have to kind of manage that. It's really worse at tracks like Kansas or Chicagoland, but here, because of the 2 dog legs in the middle of that straightaway, you want to call it, it's gonna make the car shift a little bit more than what we're used to. As you see Heller and Eric Kemp back here battling for, I believe that's about the 13th, 14th spots, with Lewis Woodall right around there in 12th.
Tiptoeing around the track, single file for the most part. We've got a battle for second up here with Nathan Jump and Shane Nicewanger. Looks like Shane is going to easily take it on the bottom as Jump yields the top.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of guys try to save tire here. Shane looks like he's pressing a little bit harder, which is interesting. Usually someone that's pretty well aware of what to do with the tires is, I believe, is that Robin Durr that may have caught the wall, or that's a 24 of Alex Fox. Looks like he may have caught the wall off turn 4. You can see a little bit of that damage as he faltered back. And you can see Lewis Woodall battling in that spot for 13th or that's for 12th or 13th with Frank Kincott, as Heller's actually passed both of them, moved up to 11th. Heller on the move early.
Heller on the move in that beautifully unsponsored Ford Fusion. Cars we haven't seen on track in, I believe, any iRacing series here for a long time. Looking as good as ever here at the Legacy version of Charlotte.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. A lot of guys didn't really get paint schemes done for tonight, but obviously some of these cars looking pretty good. And a lot of the underground cars being all gray, I think I'm sorry, not Madalinas. Madalinas has a default Ford, but Heller and I think Brittle and a couple other guys running just a bare gray car tonight. Just sporting kind of the taking off the truck feel. And you can see there's Hunter Brittle running 9th right behind Brandon Barkuski, right ahead of Jackson Sims.
Hunter Brittle, our split-second broadcasting connoisseur, lead commentator of the Great Lakes Truck Series, making his split-second debut tonight on the track. Too bad we couldn't get him in a split-second car, but he looks good. Very reminiscent of the preseason Thunder days for the old Cup Series.
Yeah, I'm really surprised seeing some of these guys struggle out here. I didn't, again, expect Sims to be as far back as he is. Heller's obviously worked his way up to 11th, but out of the 20 guys, Sims still struggling back in 10th, started 10th, so just hasn't really gone anywhere. Brittle's obviously moved up a couple spots, but everybody seems to have singled out, and it looks like they're kind of comfortable to ride. Pit window is going to be anywhere from about 47 to 52 laps, so this is looking like a 3-stopper. I believe they have 5, maybe 6 sets of tires in the pits. I'm not really sure on the number there to be exact, but it looks like pretty much everyone's going to save, and Madalinas is now trying to drive away from Shane Neiswanger. Obviously made that early move to get around Nathan Jump.
A low line fest so far. It'll be interesting to see how the track rubbers in and how the weather plays into this as the sun sets. I do believe the sun will set pretty quickly here in the next 30 minutes to an hour. Always something interesting here on iRacing to see how that realistic weather plays into things. Elliot, no real room for pit strategy tonight.
Not a ton, no. I mean, you'll be able to run a little bit further if you want to pass that lap 50 mark, those extra 2 laps potentially, depending on how cautions fall. But you're kind of in a box here with the 3-stop strategy, as you see Jump looking at the inside of Neiswanger and Brittle back there battling with, I believe that's Brandon Barkuski over the 8th spot. But yeah, they're kind of stuck on that 3-stopper. But I don't think that's too bad. With how much the tires are going to wear, I think they're going to be a lot more concerned with burning off that right front. There were some guys saying that going 50 laps was almost enough to burn the right front completely off of it and potentially blow a tire, like we saw back when they reconfigured a bunch of these cars, and Dover was pretty good at trying to blow tires on the next gen over a long run. So they do have full fuel. We'll have to see how the tires hold up. That's going to be their main point of contention, as Shane's now relinquished that 2nd spot to Nathan Jump.
Yeah, Jump back on the move again, and I feel like this is something we see with Jump across all the series he runs in, especially when car management comes into play, as he tends to excel over these longer runs where you have to take care of your stuff, take care of your tires, take care of the car itself. Another guy I'm watching, Greg Mitchell. He is new to URA, definitely new to this group of drivers. We have not seen him on track before, and he is holding his pace quite well there in P5 in that number 2 City Chevrolet. Throwback to Days of Thunder. We love to see that, as we are single file all the way back through the field. It looks like we might have a battle back there for 15th or 16th, but these guys are just settling into one of the longer, if not the longest, race I've ever broadcasted, raced in, or seen here, Elliot.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to do a paint scheme competition, but I think Greg Mitchell and Mike McConville have some of the best looking paints out there. I'm always a fan of that Truex maroon type deal, whether you call it maroon or cherry red. It depends on the color and the nighttime and what's going on with that car. It always looked a little bit different everywhere it went. But those guys all starting to catch. Shane Neiswanger is now backed up. You're going to wonder if Shane maybe ran through his tires and is trying to take it easy now, as we're nearly 15 laps into this. We're not even halfway through the run. We're like a third through the current run. So you're going to wonder if maybe Shane is already suffering a little bit early from pressing really hard at the beginning of the race. But Those guys all right under a blanket, and maybe we'll start seeing a top come in as Jump starting to work that second lane, but no one's really moved up there quite yet, as now Shane gets moved to the outside, and William Barber-Gelada is going to lift to the inside for that third spot.
Yeah, William Barber-Gelada making the move off there. Shane couldn't get the run off the corner. Barb could. And now it looks like Shane's going to be in trouble as he kind of gets stuck on that dirty high side. Might get a run off the corner here. Might be able to clear Greg Mitchell. No, won't clear him down the back straightaway. So they'll battle into turn 3. See Greg Mitchell having a little bit of connection issues there. All good so far. Ooh, a little push off the bottom.
Looked like Shane almost got a little bit loose off of turn 2. Looks like that's kind of what he's dealing with on corner exit. The cars just kind of sliding out on the rear for him, which again, if you use those rear tires early in that run, going from 6th to 2nd at one point, he's going to deal with that for the rest of this run, and it looks like he just overdrove it a little bit at the beginning. He'll have to rework himself. Luckily, this is a 200-lap race. This is a long 300-mile race. He's got plenty of time to work it out, and he's already learned early, okay, now I know what I need to do for the second run to really make this thing work. He's got 50 laps in each run to really work it back in and catch these guys back down.
Yeah, still very early in the race. Definitely some room for mistakes. And as we're early and as we're single filed out, we're going to go ahead and step away for a minute for a lot of our broadcasters. You'll see us, a lot of our viewers, you'll see us go side by side. Some of you may see a commercial, and we'll be back here at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you, and we'll figure it out."
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5.
Okay.
Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again. Then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Back live at Charlotte Motor Speedway, it is the Coca-Cola 300 from the Underground Racing Association. Hunter Madalinas had checked out to almost a 1-second lead, but don't look now. Here comes Nathan Jump, has chiseled all the way into that lead, and he is looking pretty strong here 20 laps into the race, Elliot.
Yeah, it looks like Jump was just able to serve those tires a little bit better. Madalinas had a pretty big slip up that lap. I'm not sure, but Jump is all over the back of him as they go through 3 and 4 now. And Barber-Gelada is not very far behind, within a second of these two. So this might be a 3-horse race. And then not too far behind them, I've been seeing Zach Hendry starting to move up the track and make up some ground. So we'll have to watch and see if he continues to do that. He looks like he's now running about the middle of the track, 1 lane up. Just a late arc, but he's past Shane Nicewanger. Brittle's right there with him. But he's been making up ground on these guys ever since about lap 5 or 6.
It is nice to see these guys getting out there and experimenting with different lines. I'm not sure if anything other than the bottom is going to be the preferred line or the dominant line yet, but it is nice to see guys like Zach Henry out there this early experimenting, maybe trying to rubber in those lines early for later in the race. Because as the sun sets, you never know what's going to happen here. Nathan Jump backing off just a little bit from Madalinas, maybe toning the pressure down just a little bit this early in the race, saving his stuff for longer in this run. We're 23 laps into it, and Elliot, I don't even think we're halfway through this run, so it is going to be interesting to see where we are come pit time.
Yeah, we are closing in on the halfway point. I'd say 26-27 is the official halfway mark of the first run. So obviously, you know, some of these guys might be starting to press, some of them might not. So as we've got Lewis Woodall
around. That's off of turn 4. That's going to... Oh, God! Jesus!
Yeah, there was not a yellow, and I believe that was Rod Fosnaugh and Preston Henry that drove straight into it, unfortunately for them.
A big moment there. It looked like Lewis Woodall had gotten turned around, tried to get it going, and turned around again right in front of Rod Fosnaugh, Preston Henry, and that is going to be 3 cars done all in one fell swoop, Elliot. We'll dial up the replay to see exactly what happened, but that was a mess. That's what we'll call that. That was quite the mess for those 3 drivers.
Yeah, it looks like Lewis is just going to get loose all by himself as we try to bring it back up for you. And unfortunately, because there was no yellow and these guys didn't know exactly where Louis was because of the fact that there wasn't a lot of smoke either, it was just a single car incident. They just drove into him. I was just mentioning under the break how far back Preston Henry and Rod Fosnaugh had dropped, and I thought for sure that meant they were safe. And you could see Louis still up there. The smoke is at the top of the track, and it might just be the fact that he's in a black car. I don't know, but they're both on top of the track, and Louis already up there, and that is very bizarre for those two to collide with him. I thought for sure he'd be okay, and Louis didn't have a lot of damage. It was just a single car incident, but wow. As expected, everybody's going to hit pit road here halfway through this run. Hunter Magdalena is going to drag them down, and we'll just see. I assume everybody's going to take 4 tires. I can't imagine they do anything else. So probably not too many changes on pit road, but we'll have to see if maybe Nathan Jump can get the advantage off pit road here and see how they cycle out.
Looking at pit stops, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. We'll take you back to that wreck one more time here in a minute. Let's see how they come off pit road. And it looks like Hunter Madalenas, Nathan Jump easily going to come off holding their positions. It looks like that is William Barbagelata up to P3.
Yeah, no major change. I think the biggest negative there is Shane Neiswanger losing a couple spots. Granted, I think he already dropped back behind Brittle and Zach Henry, but he may have just lost out to one over Sims, maybe Heller as well. So might be outside the top 10 at this point. So he was the one that was dropping back. I think that caution actually plays into his favor, though. Again, learned a lot about how much he pushed early and how much tire he didn't have there compared to others towards the middle of that run. As we're going to pull up that replay one more time here for you. Again, Lewis Woodall, a bit of a self spin, just got loose in the middle of 3 and 4. And again, these cars are a lot to handle. So
we'll take a look on board here from Preston Henry. I'm curious to see if you can see Lewis Woodall up against the wall. And you could see him right there because we're looking for him. And Preston Henry, he just came off the bottom and was slowing down. And I'm not even sure he ever hit the brakes. He just
I just wonder if maybe there was no call out that he was wrecking, and you're not really looking for it, but you got to be somewhat aware and pay attention forward. And unfortunately, the car is visible, but it's not incredibly visible if you're not looking for it. So if he wasn't trying to find it, then that's it.
Yeah. Well, that brings us our first caution of the day. We're almost exactly halfway through a field run, so you're right, Elliot. These guys are going to have learned a lot, and we'll see what they all could keep in their back pockets for the second run. We'll be interested to see how these guys, now that they kind of know where their cars are, how they play this restart. It looks like we're still 2 to go, probably coming to 1 to go this time by. No big movers on pit road either. So everybody doing a nice job getting on and off pit road. 27 laps into the race, Elliot. What do you think? What do you think of things so far?
I think we've got some interesting stuff here. Like, I think the tires are definitely going to be something to watch out for. Obviously, we only got halfway through that run. That changes a lot here because they're going to be able to attack this a little bit differently now and split up how they want to attack the rest of this race. But the idea is they're still probably going to want to run pretty long here and run this stint out about as far as you can, and then you could split it in half and basically make this. Make it a 2-stopper from here and split the one run a little bit different. But we didn't really see what tires look like, you know. We ran halfway through that run, and obviously there were some comers and goers. I think Shane was probably the biggest one dropping. Brittle was the biggest one moving forward, but we didn't really see a lot of movement. Otherwise, I'd be interested to see if maybe Madalinas and Jump would have fallen victim to Barbagelata as that run went on.
Definitely going to be interesting to see where the field shakes out on this restart. It'll be Hunter Madalinas over Nathan Jump, William Barbagelata, Mike McConville. And there's Greg Mitchell again, still holding that 5th position. I don't think he's gone up or down since the start of this race. He is just holding it right where he started and doing good so far. And man, you're right, Elliot. That 2 car and that 1 car, probably the 2 best looking cars on the track right here.
Man, when they're right next to each other like that, it looks really good too. Because you imagine if they all were similar to that type of paint scheme, just that is a great angle there. There you go. But yeah, I'm impressed with Greg. I think he's done a phenomenal job. Obviously, we've never heard that name before, don't know who this is. So really fun watching him just kind of run his own race here. The other guy who, if you've been watching us and know a lot of these names, the other guy that we don't know a lot about, Alex Fox, unfortunately a lap down. I believe still on track though, so still in this thing, but nope, honestly, he's on pit road, so unfortunate run for him. But those 2 guys came out, had a good time. Greg Mitchell still has a chance at something here. He was pretty fast over that run, stayed top 5 the whole time.
Anyway, we'll love to see how things shake out. Off of turn number 4, we'll see the pace car make that left turn this time, and we'll get our first restart of the night. It is Hunter Madalinas over Nathan Jump, William Barbagelata, Mike McConville, Greg Mitchell, and Zach Henry as the leaders are looking for that restart zone. There you see it. The green flag is out. Hunter Madalinas is going to get that big jump on the bottom as the race leader, and he is going to lead him off into turn number 1.
I don't think Jump expected a green flag there. I think he was waiting. They weren't at the end of the zone yet. Jump didn't go. The green had come out, and Madalinas kind of just went right as the green came out, and Jump was not ready for it. So Jump slow on the jump this time, going to fall back to 3rd here, but no different than where he was last time when Shane drove up from 6th to 3rd. So settling right back where he was, and McConville tries to work the outside. Barbagelata looks towards Madalinas for the lead.
Yeah, Barbagelata's got Madalinas in the sights now. Nathan Jump back to 3rd. Mike McConville, Greg Mitchell, 2 by 2 from there on back as these guys get a little bit more confident with that top side, especially on this restart. Looked like Mike McConville was able to carry a significant amount of speed, gets the run off the corner. He clears Greg Mitchell, is going to have Zach Henry right behind him. We'll see the run. Look at him in the middle of the corner. Look at him just gap that 2 car and get the run almost to the outside of Nathan Jump. He's going to scrape the wall just a little bit. So we're definitely seeing that top line start to come into play just a little bit here on these fresh tires.
Yeah, I was trying to remember if maybe Shane had used the top at the beginning of his run to clear as many guys as he did, because it just seems like everyone wants to run the bottom. And, you know, I don't know if that conserves tire a little bit more. I assume it does this early on, but the top seems to work. Zach Henry's using it. He's gone around Hunter Brittle. So you can see McConville now still trying to work to the outside of Nathan Jump. He's got some speed as he gets pretty loose off 4. They almost make contact. They keep going, though, but that's what these cars give you, is some loose rear end. And as you come off that corner, it's going to slide a little bit. As Brittle kind of backs off the corner, you can see the different lines all working here. The 2 went in hard, the 1 went in hard, the 12 went in hard, the 10 all backed off. So all these guys working a little different, but the top definitely giving a big enough run. Zach Henry to the backside of Mike McConville going into 3.
3 wide into turn number 3. That is Shane Nicewanger on the top. I don't even know who that is on the bottom. That's Chris Heller in that unsponsored Chevrolet. We had a little bit more action on this restart than we did last time. Now we've got Greg Mitchell looking at the inside of Zach Henry again. So there's action all over the track as these guys are looking to pick up as many positions as they can.
I think Heller's the one driver I've noticed that can go as hard as he does at the beginning of the run and still maintain throughout. He is from 17th to 9th now. I think he drove up to about 11th or 12th in that first little 25, 26 lapper that we had before that yellow. And here he is trying to move ever closer to that top 5. He's following Brittle around the top. Greg Mitchell, who we just talked about, is the losing dog here in this fight. He's gone from about that 4th starting spot all the way back, trying to stay inside the top 6. But right now, that bottom line just not working for him as these guys drive around him. Look at the 1. Mike McConville had to lift down the middle of the backstretch, and Zach Henry gets to the top. I'm not really sure what that was, but McConville maybe still a little loose off turn 2. Zach Henry to the top I believe that's for the 4th spot now.
Ooh, we are getting tight off these corners, ladies. These guys definitely picking up the pace. Somebody's gonna need to bring the spotters and tell these boys that we're not even We're not even close to halfway through this race. We're barely a full fuel run through this race. So good to see these guys having a little bit of fun, giving us something fun to watch here as we see Greg Mitchell still working the bottom. And I think you're right, Elliot. I have to wonder if the I think the highlight. Ooh, as we see, I'm not sure if Heller got loose or he just cut it left right there to try to get the run off the corner on the 10 of Hunter Brittle. But I think you're right. I think we're as this run goes on, as the pressures come up with these tires, I think the bottom through both ends of the track starts to become the dominant line again. So the top seemed to be the place to be on the restart, but now we see these guys single file out. There you see Nathan Jump going to the bottom, making quick work of William Barbagelata. Jump is going to retake the second position, and we'll see how far he is, how close he could get to Hunter Madalinas over these next few laps. Looks like he's about 6/10 back now, and he's got a clear track in front of him to Madalinas.
Big battle going on here between McConville. I believe it was either Zach Henry or McConville that caught the wall there. Brittle got a big run based off of it. Heller's still right there trying to attack. Heller, again, has been the guy that is just in full attack mode, it seems like. Everyone else is kind of biding their time. Heller looks like he drives into the corner about as even as everybody else, but really gets a run through the middle and off. McConville's struggling on that top. Lets Heller go, lets Brittle go. Now Mitchell looks to the inside. That's all going on for about 7th, while your lead is shrunk down to under a half second.
Excellent racing continues all the way around. Plenty of patience being shown so far by these guys. I'm not sure patience and aggressiveness go hand in hand that well, but it seems to be working out pretty well for him right now as we continue to see Mike McConville work that high side through 3 and 4. Not that he has much of a choice. Try to get the run off the corner and at least clear Shane Niswanger. Doesn't look like he's going to do it. Oh, he might do it. Yeah, he clears Shane Niswanger with that run off of 4. And we'll see how these guys sort out as this run goes on. But yeah, you're right. Nathan Jump starting to cut that lead down again to Hunter Madalinas. So nobody running away with this one yet. Hunter Madalinas definitely has the fast car by way of track position. But as this run goes on, I think we're going to see a bit of a shakeup up top here, Elliot.
I think those guys, 4th, 5th, and 6th, might have something to say before this one's over. Zach Henry, Hunter Brittle, Chris Heller, they've all been on the march. They've already displaced the 1 and the 2. Shane Niswanger's back behind them now. They're the 3 that I'd say might come up and shake up this top 5. Obviously, the top 3 have been fast, but these other 3 we've talked about are very good at these types of races with these types of cars with this power. So we'll have to see how this works out, but right now those 3 are the ones that are making the march towards the front.
A lot of these guys, we mentioned it in the pre-race, a lot of these guys, vast majority of the drivers here actually are pullovers from Great Lakes Racing. We do have some of our extra friends here like Greg Mitchell running. And something we hear a lot of these guys, mostly the guys on track, talk about a lot is the desire to run cars with the high horsepower like we're seeing right here. These are, I would say, some of the best drivers in either league. So I guess it should come as no surprise that we have a lot of guys here early on that seem like they've got the pace, the desire, and the passion to go for this win. We didn't really talk about it. This is, as far as we're aware, this is no points. The only thing that's on the line tonight is bragging rights, and then there is a little bit of a buy-in. If I understood the math correctly, drivers had the option, but not the necessity to buy in. And the 5 or 6 drivers that bought in will receive payouts. If you didn't buy in, you don't get a payout, and you just get to have a little bit of fun on track. As we see Craig Mitchell get to the bottom of Chris Heller. I'm not sure. I almost, there for a second, Elliot, I almost thought he used the bumper to get to his inside, but it looked like Heller might have just pushed up off the bottom in the middle of 3 and 4.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Heller's just kind of struggling again. Really drove, the wheels off of it early on in this run, and it doesn't look like it's treating him that well now as we've got a little bit of battle here between Hunter Brittle and Zach Henry. Brittle's been moving his way ever closer as well, but Heller's starting to suffer a little bit now at the clutches of Mike McConville as Brittle clears Zach Henry. That's for the 4th spot. Brittle sets sights on Barbagelata, who's not very far ahead, and he's got a big run down the straightaway. Maybe Barb may have caught the wall or got off turn 4 pretty bad, but Brittle's right there going into turn 1.
Good to see Hunter Brittle. We don't get to talk about him a lot because he's in the booth with us for all of our split-second broadcasts, really. Good to see Brittle having a good run this early. And you're right, Elliot. I think all of these guys are going to have something to say as track conditions change. We see the sun setting. I'm sure we've got the blinding, almost nuclear sun by this point heading into turn 3. So definitely a lot to keep an eye on as this race progresses. 44, now 45 laps complete here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We will step aside for a quick break here on Split Second Broadcasting.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear. Call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
Back live at Charlotte Motor Speedway, it is the URA Coca-Cola 300. Nathan Jump, just like last time, we are about 20 laps into this run, and he has tracked down our race leader of Hunter Madalinas, Elliott.
We are, yeah, about 20 laps in, I'd say. We probably went green around lap 30, and Nathan Jump is there. There's been a lot of battles going on towards the back. Brittle, I thought, was closing. He's now fallen off. Greg Mitchell's caught him. Barbara Gelada's dropped back. A lot of shifting between that 3rd to 8th position. Heller's gone backwards. He's behind Shane Neiswanger now. Zach Henry's all over the back of Barbara Gelada with Mike McConville there. The battles really seem to be happening from about 5th back to 8th, but right now, don't look away from Nathan Jump because he is all over the back of Hunter Madalinas as they go off into turn 3.
Something I feel like we struggle with in the our real-world compatriots of the NASCAR Cup Series right now, and it is the comers and goers, and we are definitely seeing a lot of comers and goers this early in the race.
Yeah, I think it looks like pretty much Brittle and Heller have a lot of short run speed, and I'd say Brittle maybe has some long run speed, but not enough to contend with Madalinas and Jump. Granted, now he has a track position. It'll be interesting to see if he can maintain a top 5 spot, if he can stay up here, because he's had to restart basically, I'd say 10th, maybe 8th or worse every time. So he's had to pass cars every time to be able to get somewhere. As him and Mitchell make some contact down the straightaway. That's going to help Brittle out a little bit, get him clear. But Mitchell also on the march. Mitchell seems to have some pretty good long run pace as well as those two leaders.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Greg Mitchell was making what was probably going to be the passing move for 3rd as we've got a battle for the lead. Nathan Jump looking to the outside of Hunter Madalinas through turns 1 and 2. It's going to be interesting to see if he can get the run off the corner and down the back straightaway. Oh, look at that. Look at that.
He can. Madalina's going to try to block him off into 3. He does. Somehow Madalina's actually going to run down the backstretch for that. He's going to hold Jump at bay for now as Mitchell still tries to go to work on Brittle, and there is a massive battle between Barbara Gelada, McConville, and Zach Henry. Actually, throw Shane Neiswanger into that mix too. He's under Zach Henry. And how about Jackson Sims? We haven't talked about him pretty much all night. I was saying he was struggling earlier on, but now he's found himself inside the top 10 and is right here behind this battle. This is all from about 5th back to 10th.
I almost don't, I don't even know where to keep my eyes. I don't even know where to keep the cameras pointed. 8th jump, 100 Mountain leads back, battling for the lead. Basically everybody else battling for 3rd through 10th. So some intense stuff here as we are about halfway through this run, if I'm remembering my math right, Elliot.
Yeah, I think pit stops will probably be around lap 75-ish is what it's looking like, maybe 80. As we get down to it, these guys are just driving all over the place. Shane Nicewanger went in that corner so hard. He drifted way up the track. You can see Heller, who was at one point looking at a top 5, has drifted way back.
Wow.
Whoa, Barbara Gelada and McConville may have made some contact there too, as McConville looks to the inside. May have caught Barbara Gelada in the rear, and Barb had to run that thing all the way down the backstretch. He's going to race tight against him, but that's all 5th on back right there, as you've still got Mitchell looking at the inside of Brittle, just battles all over the place. But the lead is kind of cycled out. Jumps dropped to about 3/10 back, kind of stopped his pursuit, and we can focus back on these other battles because they are very intense. McConville now trying to clear Barbara Gelada.
Yeah, the one thing all this battling is doing, our battle for 1st and our battle for 3rd has straightened out for right now. So it looks like those guys are just gapping this gaggle for 5th on back as everybody is battling for position right here. Barbara Gelada is getting so loose off the corner. Mike McConville doing what Mike McConville does best and controls his car and puts it exactly where he wants it.
Yeah, it's really not surprising to see McConville where he is doing this well, as you still see Zach Henry and Jackson Sims right there. I thought Shane Nicewanger may have gotten somewhere, but he seems to have fallen back a little bit, just holding Chris Heller. And how about little Matt Durr sitting back there in a little patriotic scheme? We haven't said anything about him all day, but he's now crept up into this mix, and he could go from 11th to 5th, as he's got a little bit of separation between him and Brandon Barkowski, who's a bit on an island. Also haven't talked a lot about Brandon tonight, just outside the top 10.
A lot of these guys, I'll be interested to see, especially these guys behind this massive battle here. I'll be interested to see how their races shape out as this run progresses, to know if they're saving their stuff or if they're just a little bit behind the curve here tonight. As we see Zach Henry, probably one of the most prolific users and proponents of the outside line here tonight. We've seen him from the very bottom to the very top of the corners, making it work as best he can for right now. So he's not going to be able to get the position on Jackson Sims. It looks like Sims will actually pick up that spot, and now Zach Henry is going to fall back into the clutches of Shane Nicewanger.
Guys might actually be starting to catch Brittle and Mitchell here if they're still driving the way they are. Barb right up against the wall. Kyle Larson lying around the top, right on the boards. Look at how loose he gets off of the corner. He's gonna save it. Still, everyone goes to avoid him. He's gonna lose all those spots though. But what a say! Oh man, Matt Durr and Chris Heller. That's not gonna be over. Matt Durr catches Heller, catches the outside wall. I believe Heller saved it, and I think we're still moving forward somehow, some way. That all worked out. But man, that all started when Barb just came off turn 4 and just slid the whole car out from under him and needed to hang on to it all the way down that straightaway.
Well, in the end, it was a save, and I think you could call that the save of a lifetime for William Barbara Gelada. He is still loose. He might be the loosest car on track right now. Elliot, depending on how these guys are driving the cars, is it easier? How easy is it to get those right rears burning a lot faster than the right front? And is that something you want at a track like this?
I think Barb's showing you that it is not what you want, and it all depends on what you're trying to do with that right foot. If you're trying to get off the corner really hard, you're going to slide the rears. It's all in how you drive it all the way through. So it is quite easy to use it up, and because of the the amount of power that these cars have, you can very easily burn the rears right off the car if you want to. So it looks like that's what Barb's done, and unfortunately he's gone from what looked like a really solid 3rd position all the way back here to outside the top 10, or trying to battle Matt Durr for that 10th spot. But I'll tell you what, I don't think that Brittle and Mitchell are pretty much safe, because McConville's starting to track them down. And that whole gap, if they can get it sorted now that Barb's out of the way, is starting to make a little bit of headway towards the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place guys.
As this run progresses, I shouldn't be surprised, but I am at the pace Mike McConville has. It looks like he is about a quarter to a half a tenth faster than 3rd place Hunter Brittle. You could see Greg Mitchell, he gets those big runs off the corner and then seems to just not want to push the issue too much with that 10 car. And in that process, Mike McConville is tracking them down fast. Not sure how that compares to the leaders, just looking at timing and scoring here. But Mike McConville is definitely on the move, looking for P3.
Well, I mean, I think the big thing for Mitchell is he knows how much that car is going to slide. Maybe he doesn't feel like he can really complete that pass. That just comes back to, safety and understanding of what you want to do. If you can't complete the pass, there's no sense running side by side with the guy for 3 or 4 laps. You can see Brittle slide really hard off of turn 4 that time. Mitchell not really given an opening there either. You would think with Brittle sliding the car that hard that Mitchell would get there. He got a battle for this lead, though, with Jump right on the back of Madalinas. See if these guys are sliding as much as those guys back there are. But right now, I think Mitchell's just trying to bide his time and see if Brittle makes a big enough mistake. He's seen the 10 slide a good bit. McConville's been sliding, so maybe he can kind of get him off the corner and see if Brittle will slide enough so they can just drive around him.
Hunter Madalinas, Nathan Jump, Hunter Brittle, Greg Mitchell, and Mike McConville are your top 5. As we are working lap 66 here at the Underground Racing Association at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Jumping up to the top in 1 and 2, it did not work out for him like I'm sure he expected to. He's been trying pretty much everything. Madalinas has been stuck to the bottom. As you can see, Mitchell got to the inside of Brittle now. Let's see how he gets off of turn 4. But Madalinas is stuck to the bottom, and Jump's been trying the outside to make it work. But unfortunately, I mean, he gets a massive run down the backstretch, but can't do anything. Can't get next to him going into 3. He's got a pretty big run off of 2 this time, but still not quite there, as you can see it on your screen. He's going to give him a little bit of a look to the inside, but Madalina's not really too worried about that right now.
Greg Mitchell gets the pass done on Hunter Brittle. Not sure if Hunter gave up or Mitchell just finally got the run he needed to make that pass work, as Brittle's still sticking to the bumper of that 2 car.
McConville hits pit road.
Oh.
Very early pit stop, and Barbagelata, I believe where that cone is, where the speed was, so he may be okay. We'll have to find out. But Barbagelata on pit road. Doesn't surprise me that he hit pit road this early with how loose and how much his tires were worn out there through that run. But this is a really early pit stop. They could have gone about 70, 75-ish. So we'll see how they work out.
It sounds like we're going to have a bunch of other takers to pit road here, and I have to wonder, just looking around the track and running the numbers I have in my head, Elliot, are these drivers keeping this a 3-stop race? I'm trying to do the math on the fly. If you're pitting on 70 and you can go 60 laps, you still have to pit at least one more time from here, right? I'm not crazy.
Well, 25 with 50 would be as Jump hits pit road. You can see it here. Let's see if he gets down to speed. Looks like he made it pretty well, but 25 would only put him 75 to 125 to 175. So they didn't really have an opportunity to split it up any more than what they have. They're pretty much doing that. So, yeah, I think right here puts them at a little bit more of a better average. That 40 laps per versus 50. Just because of how much these tires really killed themselves through the end of this run. So, they're pretty much stuck on that 4-stopper at this point.
Yeah, definitely snuck up on us. The battles around the track were just looking so good. I think we thought they were going to keep racing like that forever. But pit strategy always in the mind here, as we see Hunter Madalinas might be committing to running this out. Not really sure what the plan is for these other guys as we work coming to lap 72. We'll see if Madalinas hits pit road this time. No, he won't. He'll stay out. So have to wonder if we're seeing the split in pit decisions here, as some guys opt to shorten this run, and I assume drivers like the 7 of Hunter Madalinas, the 2 of Greg Mitchell, the 10 of Hunter Brittle are going to lay in that bed of having a shorter middle run or end run, Elliot.
Well, Jump just caught Shane Neiswanger on corner exit, which absolutely obliterated his lap right there. I've got to imagine that running a bit longer is what you want to do, especially with how these tires are working out. So I think right now that guys like Madalinas are probably on a bit of a better strategy, trying to run a little bit longer, but we'll have to see, obviously, how big Jump's gap is and if Madalinas can can work that back down. The other side is you don't want to put yourself in traffic. So Madalinas doesn't want to stay out far enough where he has to pass 6 or 7 cars here and wear his own tires out to try to get back up to Nathan Jump.
We're still seeing the trickle of cars onto pit road, so it might be just a lot of longer windows for these guys. Shane Nicewanger, I think you're right. Nathan Jump blew past him so fast, he probably thought, to hell with this. I want my 4 tires now. So Hunter Madalinas continues to stay out. It looks like everybody up to, position. Let's see here. It looks like, 9th on back has pitted so far. Nathan Jump, first car on the track of those that have pitted. It looks like Greg Mitchell is on pit road now, so that'll bring us up to P8. And just still that slow trickle of drivers. Eric Kempf, last car on track that has not pitted yet. And Nathan Jump continuing to put down heaters. It looks like he just ran the fastest lap of the race, so definitely have to think when this cycles out, Nathan Jump is going to have the lead of a lifetime. Hunter Madalinas going to lose some track position now, but it'll be interesting to see how that equates to things later in the race as these drivers try to min-max their runs, assuming we go caution-free from here to the end.
Yeah, I assume the idea with Madalinas is you run this one as long as possible, and then you just run the next 2 runs as short as possible, and go from there. I don't really, or next 3 runs, sorry. I don't really know what. I feel like if you're in this situation, you're going to want to pit earlier than later because, running long doesn't really preserve you that much in the race overall. But obviously Madalinas thinks he has a strategy. I would have pit as Jump was catching me there, but, we'll have to see. Right now, Jump's going to have a huge lead, but can he keep that up for the whole run?
Well, the good news for us and the good news for the fans at home is Mike McConville pitted about the same time as Jump did. I think there was a lap or 2 difference, actually. And it looks like Mike McConville very, very, very marginally eating into that theoretical lead Jump will have when this cycles out. As Elliot and I sit up here and talk in circles about pit strategy, let's bring in the 3rd member of our split-second booth tonight, Gavin Fitzgerald. We'll call him our rules analyst because, gosh darn it, he just knows everything. Gavin, what is your take on what you've seen since you got here, and maybe what do you think about this strategy we have unfolding here after that untimely first caution has set us up for some, I'll just call it some confusion for us.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, I believe Nathan Jump to be on the good strategy here. We've seen throughout, or from what I've seen, just, watching all the battles throughout the track, passing here is really, really hard. It's going to be really hard for Madalinas if he gets to Jump to complete that pass. We saw it with Hunter Brittle defending 3rd. It just couldn't get the move done at all. So we're going to definitely have to see how this cycles out. Part of me is wondering if it's a fuel thing. Maybe Hunter knows something that we don't. He's going to try and stretch it out to cut a pit stop. We know Nathan Jump likes to short pit. So really all the strategies on the table here. We've got guys still out there. Brandon Barkuski stretching it out. Zach Henry stretching it out. Hunter Brittle stretching it out. Ross Brockman out there as well. All these guys know what they're doing. So there could very well be multiple strategies at play here that we won't see until the winding laps of this race.
Well, if they were going to stretch it, we'd have to go to lap 100 here, which would be 20 more laps, and I don't think anybody has enough to be able to do that. That'd be a 75-lap run. So that's where I feel like I agree with Gavin that the strategy to Jump is on seems like the best one, and that running long here is really just potentially hoping for a yellow or just going to give you, fresh tires for the rest of the run. But at the end of the day, you're running so long here, you're going to be so far behind the 8 ball when this thing resets that those next couple runs are going to be really tough to work your way through.
Yeah, we just saw Greg Mitchell go by Hunter Brittle to get his lap back, and that's a perfect example right there. Those guys were essentially nose to tail, and now when Brittle decides to pit, he's going to be a fairly large amount behind this 2 car here.
Yeah, I mean, Madalinas and Shane Nicewanger just went around Brittle as well. That puts Madalinas pretty far behind the mark. It looks like as of last time, he's about 15, 16 seconds behind leader Nathan Jump. And looking at lap times, I mean, he is running about a half second quicker than Jump, but That's nothing compared to when Jump was running probably 2.5 seconds quicker at the end of that run, while Madalena stayed out and Jump came in on fresh tires. So we'll have to see how that works out in Madalena's favor. But right now, I got to imagine it's going to be a steep hill to climb here.
Yeah, we just saw Brandon Barkuski come down pit road as well. We've got the guys stretching it are slowly starting to dwindle here. Ross Brockman's going to make another lap as well as Hunter Brittle. Hunter Brittle hitting pit road this time. Here he comes.
Yep. Brockman's going to go the longest, as we're used to, as Brittle hits pit road.
Or Brittle's exiting pit road.
And Jump's actually going to catch Brockman on track here.
I have to feel a little bit bad for Ross Brockman here. This poor man has not pit yet and is being caught by Nathan Jump. So fuel strategy is nothing new to that 52 of Ross Brockman, but I think you guys have kind of hit the nail on the head. I'm not sure in these cars with just how much faster these things are on fresh tires than their 40 or 50 lap older tires. I'm not sure there's going to be much to be gained, but there is still a lot of time left in this race for us to learn something that we may not have picking up on yet.
Yeah, for sure.
So Madalena's 10.8 off the mark now. We're gonna have to see how that lead kind of dwindles here as he's gonna pass Greg Mitchell down the backstretch. That's all for the 6th spot on track. And honestly, Heller jumped a lot of spots there too, up inside the top 5 now. I believe he made an early pit stop as well. But Jump clear out in the lead, 4 seconds ahead of Mike McConville, Jackson Sims, William Bargellotta, and Chris Heller, your top 5 with Madalena's now up to 6, 10 seconds off the mark.
It'll be interesting to see that gap on the left of your screen and on the right of your screen. It is going to be really interesting to see how much time Hunter Madalenas can pick up on the race leader of Nathan Jump. Madalenas is faster, and he's going to be faster for the rest of the time, essentially until one of them pits again. And it looks like Madalenas, just in that last lap, took off about 5 to 6 tenths. So if he can keep that pace up for 18 laps, one would assume that he would be in position to battle for the lead. That is assuming he could get through these cars ahead of him that are also on significantly older tires at this point.
Yeah, Hunter just ran a lap time of 30.08. We're going to see what Jump's lap time is here coming across the line. He has run a 31.0, so almost a second difference there between Hunter Madalenas and Nathan Jump that lap.
Talking about...
The only thing holding Madalenas back here is going to be the fact that he needs to try to get around Heller, Bargellotta, and other cars. He's going to have to get around these guys as quickly as possible without losing a lot of time because, like you said, obviously that 1 second is huge, but if it turns into a second or a half a second or, a quarter of a second, obviously you're losing a lot of that time. You need to get that time now while the tires are still fresh. Look at Heller racing him really hard, and Barb's going to hold him up. He's stuck in a sandwich. He should have gone in the middle, and he's going to get stuck behind Barb and try to work his way around. But like I said, that's holding him up a lot more than what he needs to, and that's going to help Nathan Jump. He only gained 3 tenths that lap compared to a second prior.
Yeah, Bargellotta, whether he meant to or not, he took he took about a lap's worth of work away from Hunter Madalenas there, getting in front of him. Madalenas doing a good job to get through that traffic, though.
I think it all just depends. You look at the cars ahead of him, Jackson Sims and Mike McConville. They're out there, but they're not in a pack. I think that was what caught Hunter off guard there was he had to tried to get Heller and Barb maybe in the same corner. Didn't quite line up for him, but if he keeps up that pace when he gets to Sims and McConville here, he should be able to just blow right by them and keep on keeping on as he's going to get to Sims here, either this corner or going into turn 1 here. Yeah,
and remember that Sims and McConville pit very early, potentially earlier than Nathan Jump. We don't have the numbers anymore, but Madalena's going to drive right around Sims here. So these guys on very old tires compared to Madalena's. He's going to be able to go right around them, but the big question is, can he continue to close that gap down from that 6.5 second lead that Jump has? Remember, he came off of pit road about 13.5 seconds back, so he's already dug out about half of it, but it's only going to get harder as the tires wear out over this run.
Yeah, even with Sims right there, it was a 30.6 for Hunter Madalenas, and it's going to be a 31.1 here for Nathan Jump across the line. So,
yeah, we got some guys getting a little bit tired out here. Shane Nicewater coming over the radio asking what the stage caution is. McConville saying he's having a lot of fun all by himself out here. So, guys starting to have a little bit of fun, but you can see some battles going on. That's William Barbagelata being passed by, sorry, that's Greg Mitchell and Chris Heller right there. And how about Ross Brockman? I believe Brockman's still a lap down, so he's on that alternate strategy going really far. But if he can get back on the lead lap, that might work out. It'd be a lot to ask him to go that far, but we thought initial pit stops would be around lap 75. He went all the way to 82. If he can do that 2 more times, he could potentially make those laps up over this run.
Definitely a lot to unpack here. And as Hunter Madalinas tracks down our race leader, he's got the gap down to 5.4.3.2 seconds this time by. We'll step aside and we'll take another quick break. You're watching the Underground Racing Association. It's the Coca-Cola 300 on Split Second Broadcasting.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She carried 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you prevent wildfires.
Dude, I've got this. I've been camping since I was 5 years old.
But I am a camping influencer.
You know what? I'll bet you $5. Okay. Assistant Smokey, what is the best way to put out a campfire?
To put out a campfire, drown with water, stir, drown again, then make sure the fire is out cold by feeling with the back of your hand.
Wait, really?
I'll take the $5.
Back live at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Strategy seems to be working out for Hunter Madalinas. He's got that gap now down below 4 seconds here, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Hunter is making up ground. You know, he's dispensed of the slower, like the cars that pit before him. Mike and Jackson didn't give him much of a hard time. He's definitely quickly disposed of them. Now we've got other cars ahead of him here. We got Brent Kingcott is really the only car in between them. Brent's going to mostly seem to kind of just scooch over, give Hunter the lane. And Hunter will just power on by him here as the gap is now 3.9 seconds. Hunter Madalinas with a 31.2. Nathan Jump with a 31.4.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's going to be enough. Obviously, Madalinas is going to want this run to go pretty long, but Jump could basically just pit here and then split it right in half for the rest of the race. So, obviously, they only pit about 30-ish laps ago, but the pit window is now pretty much open to run to the end on just one more stop. So it's whatever anybody wants to do. But right now, I don't believe that Madalinas is in the catbird seat. He's still got a bit of work to do because even if he gets there, he's got to pass him.
Yeah, I think back to the conversation we were having as we started to see the strategy unfold, and I think you're right, Elliot. I think we basically found ourselves in a position where all those guys were going to need to make, not necessarily need to, but the preferred strategy was probably going to be from our last restart was probably going to be to do 1 long run and 2 short runs. And I have to wonder what Jump's strategy is here. He is 30 laps into his stint. Is this the stint he shortens, or does he make this his long stint? Because just looking at it, it looks like Madalinas is going to get there. He's definitely dropped off a little bit as far as raw speed goes, but he is still chipping away at that lead of Nathan Jump.
Well, I think when you get to the point where we're at, you as Nathan Jump, if you've undercut, you're going to have to pit when Madalenas gets there because you don't want to lose any more ground to him. Now, if he can't clear you, just keep going and see what works out. But that's where I've always been with the undercut strategy. The overcut, you can do whatever you want because all it is you know that you have the pace because you have the tire. But if you're Jump, when Madalenas gets there, you've got to hit pit road. As we see Barber Gelada already on pit road this early, that's a bit of a surprise. But again, I said the pit window's open. Now he's just going to stretch each run 50 laps. But that's coming from Barber Gelada, who struggled to go the 35, 40 laps in the last run. So interesting to see him change up his strategy. But yeah, if I'm Jump, I'm pitting when I see Madalenas in my mirror.
Yeah, for sure. Is even just looking at like how much Hunter's been gaining, it's slowly been falling off here. You know, Jump's coming around the line right now to do a 31.6. We're gonna see what Hunter does here. But the gaps, Hunter seemed to be making a decent amount of time here. He seems to have fallen off a bit. You know, maybe pushed his tires too much, making his way through the cars that pitted early. Probably has cost him here. Something he might not have accounted for was actually how he had to deal with the other cars.
Yeah, I'm also interested in the fact that you got guys like Hunter Brittle, Brandon Barkuski. They stayed out the longest as well. Brittle hasn't really worked his way up as far as I'd imagine he'd like to be. He was running about 4th or 5th before pit stops all started, and now he finds himself battling Heller for 6th on these old tires, and still 2.5, nearly 3 seconds off of the top 5 behind Sims and Mitchell, who are nearly 3 wide of Brent Kingcott there as Kingcott catches the wall. Sims trying to get around his teammate, but also trying to make this battle for 3rd or 4th work in his favor. It's all going to cycle out as Brent's still on the outside wall. Brittle clears Heller, but Brittle not really getting where he needs to be. The long run just not really working out for these guys as we thought.
Yeah, the biggest loser on these strategies so far seem to be anyone not named Nathan or Hunter. The rest of the field, Mike McConville, who we kind of thought, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I kind of thought he was in position on raw speed with everything equally matched to kind of contend. And unfortunately, he just got played a lap early, and he has lost a little bit of time to Nathan Jump this run. Is looking at about a 5.5 second gap up to the leader as we approach the next set of pit stops. And at this point, guys, I have to imagine, unless something wild happens, so far it looks like it is going to be a 2-horse race to the finish.
Yeah, for sure. Nathan and Hunter seem to have the field pretty covered. You know, we saw Mike use pit strategy there to gain a couple spots for sure, but nothing notable to gain ground on these two. The only way that we shake up these front two is maybe a yellow during pit stops or just a yellow in general to get these guys grouped back together here.
And this is a situation that Madalenas doesn't want at all. He's got Ross Brockman on slightly fresher tires, who's a little bit faster, but just having a car around you to mess up your groove and hurt your air and everything, it's not helping him at all. You can't really fault Ross, but man, that's frustrating for Madalenas to be trying to chomp down this lead, and he can't even get there now because he's got to deal with Brockman all around him.
Hunter Madalenas here continues to try to chip away at the lead. Ross Brockman has breezed his way by. Hunter kind of let him go there just to get rid of the dirty air around him. But that gap seems to be considerably in Nathan Jump's favor. Even looking at lap times there, Hunter was actually slower than Nathan Jump that time around.
Yeah, I was looking at the pace, and it looks like Hunter Madalenas, for whatever reason, if I am reading timing and scoring here right, he's getting through 1 and 2 a lot faster than Nathan Jump, and then for whatever reason, he is losing a lot of time to his relative pace through 3 and 4. He's still averaging maybe about a 10th faster than Nathan Jump, but he's definitely fallen off a lot here just in the last 5 laps.
Greg Mitchell nearly caught the outside wall. He's now on pit road, as you see. Had a big penalty, I assume, because he slid across the infield and ended up over there. So that's going to basically do it in for him. No shot at a top 5 unless we get a late yellow or something here. But that'll move Brittle up into the top 5 as they come by the line here. And unfortunately, Mitchell, really solid run today, but that's going to do him in pretty bad.
Yeah, you never want to hope for a caution, but Greg Mitchell having a great run, and it's going to be foiled by that. Hopefully he has a chance later in the race to get back in it. We're only 10 laps past halfway. 300-mile race, this thing is clicking by pretty fast here, guys.
Yeah, that seems to happen when you have like a good group of guys running, you know, basically pretty far apart here. I'd be very shocked, you know, at least at this exact moment in time. I don't really see a lot of groups. If there's a yellow that's going to come out here, Matt Durr, Chris Heller both hitting pit road, it would have to be from a single car accident or something like that. There's not really a big chance for a yellow here. Sim's also on pit road.
We have seen a single car incident all the way back on about lap, 23, 24-ish, when Louis Woodall caught the wall, and unfortunately Preston Henry and Rod Fosnaugh, nowhere to go, drove into him and brought out the yellow as, Jackson Sims hitting pit road. Mike McConville. Matt Alinas actually hits pit road. He's going to switch the strategy and jump early. That is... I mean, that puts it back in Jump's hands, though. Jump can now do what he wants. He can pit here and try to hold that lead and make Madalinas chase him down, or Jump can run a little bit long if he wants to. But very interesting approach by Madalinas, considering he just got beat by the short strategy.
Well, it's interesting because from here it looks like he's only going to have to do 2 about 45-lap runs. So you have to imagine he could push it a little harder than he might have if he was having to do a full fuel run.
Yeah, for sure. Nathan Jump opted to stay on the racetrack that time. Got to wonder what he's thinking. Does he know Hunter Pitt? Is he coming this time? Sparks coming out from under that 9 car. Here he comes down pit road.
Yeah, as soon as Madalina's pit, this is Jump's opportunity to sit here and really lay the gauntlet down. This is a come chase me if you really want it approach that Jump's going to take. Brittle's still on track, still trying to run this long game. He's pretty much the only one left on it. Zach Henry stays out with him, but Hunter Brittle has been the one that has run the longest, it seems, both runs, and it got him up to the top 5 that time, but only because Mitchell ended up making some contact. He was closing in on Sims and I believe McConville, but wasn't quite there yet, so we'll have to see if he decides to pit now that it looks like pretty much everybody inside the top 10 is pitted aside from Brittle and Henry, sorry.
We don't often get a visual metaphor for how much faster new tires are. You saw Hunter Madalinas pass Hunter Brittle right there on the back straightaway. Hunter Madalinas is already up almost an entire set of turns on Hunter Brittle. So new tires mean just that much, and I have to wonder.
It means that much right there. Madalinas to the lead.
Wow, Madalinas comes out. It looks like a full second and a half ahead of Nathan Jump, just based on that pitting 1 lap earlier. Looking at their pit stop times dead on for both of them. Nathan Jump actually did have a little bit slower of a stop, a 14.4 to a 14.7. That's his box time. Actually, Nathan Jump spent an extra second and a half on pit road. So that seems to be the difference. We don't really have an opportunity to go back and see what that was, but Hunter Madalinas getting it done on pit road, and now has a second and a half lead over Nathan Jump, guys.
I did watch Jump's entry to pit road, you know, very conservative entry. He knew he was in control of the race. He did not want to throw it away off a penalty. He's confident in his ability to get back up to Madalinas compared to watching Hunter on pit road. Definitely a bit of a hotter entry. Didn't speed, no mistakes, but still not as conservative, but it looks like it's paid off for him here.
Yeah, you got to get to the lead one way or the other, and that's how Madalinas wanted to do it, not really on track. Again, we know how hard it is to pass, so if he can just maintain tires now, we saw how he was able to keep Jump at bay for as long as he was, so he might just be more interested in the fact that he can just lead him now and kind of keep him behind him than sit here and try to race up to him. As you can see, Barbadolado, who pitted really early, obviously ahead of these guys on time, but already going to be displaced. Ross Brockman also on that really, really long run here is also on the same lap, and Madalina's going to go around both of them. That was aggressive, but he needs to get that done because he can't waste any time. Barbadolado gets loose.
Grass. Oh, he's back on the track.
Save number 2 for William Barbadolado. That is 2 of the wildest saves we have probably seen in the history of split-second broadcasting. William Barbadolado absolutely wheeling it after that aggressive move by Hunter Madalinas.
And while this is going on, Brittle and Henry are still out on track with Robin Durr, Barkowski, Eric Kepf, maybe hoping for a late caution or something here to try to put them back into it, or they're trying to see if they can run this long. Brockman again was able to go long enough, but they would need to be close to about lap 150, which would be another 30 laps in this run. We'll have to see what they can do here, but that seems to be the strategy at this point now that everybody else is pit.
Tell you what, if any of these guys left up here in the top 3 at this point can make it to lap 145 to 150, I will eat my shoe. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but if they do it, more power to them. Nathan Jump definitely gaining on Hunter Madalinas. He's got it down to a 6/10 of a second lead as actually, you know what? No, I'm looking at his gap to Barkuski. My apologies. It looks like he still has about an 0.8 of a second gap to Hunter Madalinas in what will eventually be the fight for the lead.
Hunter Brittle has hit pit road. Zach Henry's still on track. Barkuski has been displaced. I believe he's actually, he's just behind these guys, has not pitted yet, but that'll pretty much put an end to that. Brockman's the only one really trying this strategy, and it could potentially net him a top 10, so I mean, he might as well go for it, but that is a lot of laps to stay out there. You just got to wonder if Zach Henry and Hunter Brittle can make that time back up as well as Brandon Barkuski.
Now the last of the long pitters have given up, and Hunter Madalinas will inherit the lead. But don't look away yet. Here comes Nathan Jump.
What is this? As we watch this battle for the lead intensify here, guys, now I start to wonder about mind games. You guys have both been on the track much more recently than I have, and I think we all know that Madalinas and Jump are two all but pro series drivers here in URA and in our colleagues over at Great Lakes Racing. And I have to wonder, at this point, does it come down to mind games between Madalinas and Jump, or is it just a knockdown, drag-out brawl from here on out? Do we see Hunter Madalinas saving anything, or do we see these boys just going for it to the finish?
There's no mind games. Madalinas might be saving because he had the lead, but the mind games are over. This is just down to pure racing, and whoever decides to get the best strategy at the end of this one, remember, they can still cut this with 50 to go. Anywhere past lap 149, I'd say they can pit. So whoever comes down the earliest, whoever tries to long run it, Madalinas just got bit by long running it, but it doesn't look like he's really done himself any favors by shortcutting this time. So I think Madalinas has learned the most here, but he also has a lot to lose considering he's still right here with Jump.
As we see, Nathan Jump is right on his rear bumper. We're going to see how Jump's able to handle this, see how the newer tires fare against the old tires. I know it's not that much of a difference, but it is a difference.
Nathan Jump right in the tire tracks of Hunter Madalinas, making the move at the start-finish line, looking to the inside, isn't going to get there, doesn't have the run off the corner. And Nathan Jump now looking to the high side. It looked like there for a lap. He was committed to maybe using the Intimidate button on Madalinas, seeing if he could get him to just kind of get out of the way. Now we see him get the run off of turn 2 down the back straightaway, looking to the high side, seeing where he can get. Going to be interesting to see if Nathan Jump can use that high side to get this pass with the lead done, and it looks like, very close to the wall. Gonna get the run off the corner. Madalinas is gonna lead that lap by a nose. No, Jump's gonna lead that lap by a nose.
As here comes Hunter Madalinas back on the inside. You know, gotta wonder, Jump might have played some mind games there. He just sat back there, maybe tried to force Hunter into a mistake, realized he wasn't gonna make it. When, you know what, I gotta make this move on him. And Nathan Jump now is gonna do his best here to pull away on Hunter Madalinas to give him the best opportunity to call the strategy, force Hunter to play by his game.
Yeah, the problem now for Madalinas is he has the older tires and he's already been passed. It's going to be really hard for him to try to do anything from here. His only real advantage would be to long run this one and have Jump pit a couple laps early, but it just doesn't look like Madalinas can make these tires work for him here.
Yeah, I'm not sure who hoodwinked who, but as soon as Nathan Jump got that pass done, it's only been a lap, and he's already up to a 6, now 7, now 8/10 of a second lead on Madalinas. So Madalinas definitely, even though those tires are only 1 lap older, seems to be struggling here a little bit. Look at the times. Mike McConville, it looks like he's actually running pretty comparable times to Mike McConville, and Mike McConville, they did pit at the same time. So Mike McConville chipping into Hunter Madalinas' gap, and Nathan Jump is Well, Nathan Jump has taken the entire field to Gapplebee's at this point, guys.
Yeah, for sure. I think Hunter might have gotten a little too excited there, tried to push his tires too much, trying to keep that lead, and it bit him in the long run. But there's still lots of race left here. You never know. Could get a yellow. This race could go green. We could have some surprise strategy. It's all up to play here.
Saw a little clip there. Hunter Brittle working around Shane Nicewanger with, I believe that was Marva Gelada there. Sorry, that's Matt Durr still right around that top 10. So Brittle moving back up into the top 10 as Durr and Shane Nicewanger sit there 10th and 11th. Barkowski and Barbara Gelada, remember they ran, Barbara Gelada ran short. Barkowski is, he still hasn't pit yet, and neither has Brockman. So they might be trying this. And I don't know what it's going to net them, but it'll be very interesting if they can make it to about that lap 145, 150-ish mark.
Tell you what, if we are going to have a caution, it's going to come from that 27 car of William Barbagelata. Every time we come around and look at that car, he has got that back end pointed at the wall. I'm really not sure how he keeps saving it as we see Eric Kepf with the superhero tires making the quick pass on the high side.
Yeah, for sure. Barb is definitely like a prime example of struggling on these tires here, but he's made it work. He's still in 5th position. You know, he may be struggling, but obviously he's doing something right. As I say that, Chris Heller is approaching, and Chris Heller is hungry. Here he comes. He's going to dive down to the inside of William Barbagelata, and he's going to take that position off the corner. He's going to get a little tight. Almost contact there between the two drivers as they keep going off of turn 2.
Yeah, Heller on fresher tires as well. As you see Brandon Barkowski in the background. Brittle not very far behind that battle either, trying to make his way up towards the top 5 again. He's going to displace Brandon Barkowski pretty quickly. And Brockman starting to settle back as you see, I believe that was Barbagelata already hitting pit road again. And that he cannot make this run on fuel. So that is a race for him. I believe he might just be parking it and be done. He can't handle those rear tires. So frustrating run for him tonight. Going to pit a little bit early here as we're trying to make it to 150.
Yeah, it's worth noting there that I'm not too sure what the tire difference is there, but it seems that Barb pitting there got Brandon Barkowski out of shape and allowed Hunter Brittle to sneak by him.
Yeah, that's going to propel Brittle all the way up to Heller here. Heller not too far ahead. That's for the 5th spot. That's what Brittle's been trying to get to all night. And he might have the speed. Remember, he was catching Jackson Sims towards the end of that run, but he still has 20 laps to get up there before that 150 hash.
I tell you what,
yeah,
if anybody has a lot to gain right now, it is Brittle. He's got 10 lap fresher tires than everybody in front of him. So he makes quick work of Heller in the 11, and now he's going to set his sights on Jackson Sims. 4-second gap to every single car in front of him. 4 seconds to Sims, 8 seconds to McConville, and then 10 seconds to Madalena. So we'll be interested to see how many positions Brittle can pick up here as this run progresses.
Yeah, just looking at the lap times there, a 30.6 from Brittle, and we're going to see what Sims gets here across the line. 31.2 for Sims, and it's going to be a 30.7 here for Brittle. So Brittle is obviously coming. Those tires are making a difference.
Yeah, I think Brittle's got a pretty good shot at Sims here. I don't know what it's going to take to get to McConville. That's another 5 seconds up the road. But the other guy on that strategy that's not too far behind, Zach Henry, up to 8th now on that same strategy as Brandon Barkowski. He was just 7th. It's going to hit pit road here. He is about 13 laps short of where I think he wanted to be. I don't know that they'll be able to stretch that this far. Brockman is still out there, though. Do not count out Ross Brockman to try to stretch this one on one more stop.
So Barkowski brings it down pit road. I don't know. I think we're all in agreement that I don't know that Brockman or Barkowski are going to have are going to gain much from this strategy. But there's always something to be said about trying the strategy, seeing if you can make it work, guys.
Yeah, you never know what could happen here. They could, end up with a caution falling for them at the right time and get gifted what is essentially a solid chance to restart for the win. But again, it just doesn't seem like it's, if I have to look at this, from a driver's eyes, I'm looking here and it's like everyone's pretty far apart here. I know these cars are hard to drive. The back ends are sticking out on a lot of people, but still, I would not be banking on a caution here. It tends to not work out the greatest. for everyone involved, as we can see from Hunter Madalenas here, as Nathan Jump continues to put on a clinic that sometimes you can't really bank on a caution.
Yeah, usually you're going to want to try to split the runs up pretty evenly, which I think is what these guys all towards the front really started to do, and that's why you see them kind of even out between Jump, Madalenas, and McConville. But yeah, these guys that are running really long thought that maybe that extra tire would help them, and you can see the difference here as he goes to the outside of Jump, but overall that's just not helping him throughout the entire run, and they're not going to really gain that stuff back. But at least in Brandon Bukowski's case, he's still on the lead lap here, I believe, or maybe that puts him one lap down. Yeah, unfortunately now he's just one lap down here. That's the issue with that run too, is if a caution comes out now, he is on a very bad end of the stick.
Yeah, looking around the racetrack, except for our lap down drivers that are significantly faster than God and everybody right now. Not a lot of battles for position. We're watching Hunter Brittle. He is still tracking down Jackson Sims. There we go. We could get that to change. He's still tracking down Jackson Sims, but he seems to have plateaued a little bit. Maybe even losing a little bit of time now to Sims. Gained 0.2 last time by, but definitely seems to be slowing down a little bit as far as raw speed as his tires age as well.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
Sorry about that, Elliot. As we see Ross Brockman here coming off of pit road, still interested to see what strategy he's got. You know, looking at the fuel numbers I was given, you know, Ross has maybe a bit of a slight chance to make it compared to everybody else not being able to make it. Not 100% sure. He's just going to be up to the driver there how Ross drives it. But I would definitely say Ross has at least a 50-50 chance of pulling off a bit of a miracle here, and maybe not winning the race, but definitely finishing better than he did before.
It would.
Well, he just saw some wall contact with, I believe that was Robin Durr, and I don't know who that is. That's Brent King caught up in front of him. That was almost something that could have been pretty big for these guys on the alternate strategy, putting them both stuck a lap down, but big for everybody overall, right in front of McConville as well. And that was what I was trying to say was I feel like McConville has been kind of the outlier here. Like, he's the guy that has the same pace as those two guys in front of him, but he's been stuck on this island of 6.5 seconds back for the entire time as King caught and Robin Durr both go through the grass. They're both loose, and McConville's going to try to dispatch both of them, but King Cot's going to come back up the track, and that's going to scare McConville a bit, but I wouldn't count out a caution quite yet with how some of these guys are running.
Yeah, we saw William Barbachelata finally call it quits. Didn't want to be that caution, and honestly, when you're driving the car like that off the corner, I'm not sure what type of wheel Barbachelata has, but I imagine 143 laps into this race, I imagine having to drive it like that just starts to hurt, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Could be any number of things. There's we see Brent is loose again. Holy moly. Mike's probably scared, but he's probably realized, like, I gotta go. I gotta get away. But no, Mike for sure has been holding pace with these guys for sure. You know, it'd be interesting if we were to get a yellow here, I'd definitely be keeping my eye on Mike here to maybe sneak a win out. But that just seems to not be happening at this exact moment. You know, maybe I'm not too sure where Mike qualified here. Looking at the paper, you know, qualifying 5th. You know, I'm not too sure where he ended up. Mike's in the grass as well. They're all over the place here. Hunter Madalenas down pit road through all that. We didn't even notice. Mike inherits 2nd place. I think he's finally going to clear Brent Kingcott here. But no, Hunter Madalenas down pit road here. Maybe possibly trying to short pit Jump. I feel like that's a little early though, guys.
Yeah, I don't know that you can even make it from this point. He may just be trying something completely out of the box here. Remember, Jump pitted very early compared to Madalenas to get it done, but if Jump just pits 2 laps later, not only is he good on fuel, but he's fine on tires, so I still think Jump's in the best spot here. I think Madalenas needed to try to run this one long, and yeah, you can see that McConville lost a whole second through that whole ordeal, 1.5 as they were all trying to sort that out.
Madalenas serving a penalty here, guys. He is still sitting in his pit box, and it has been a long time. I'm not sure if he got some sort of pit penalty, but he's still there.
Oh yes, he did. Hunter Madalenas speeding on pit road here, looking down. He seemed to maybe have overshot the pit road as he was almost 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit there. Unfortunate break for Hunter Madalenas here.
Well, that puts
and we've got believe that's Brent Kingcott spun out and wrecked in the infield.
Brent's doing his best here to get it refired. Not refiring for him. Not too sure what happened there. But as he is off the racing surface, you know, iRacing is not going to be throwing a yellow for him. You know, just appears that he got loose and off, you know, got loose on the straightaway. And that's a heavy hit there, as the 5 car will certainly be done for the race as he has made it back to his pit box here, guys.
A lot happening in a short amount of time. Hunter Madalinas' night, I believe he goes from having a pretty decent chance to battle Nathan Jump for this win to he is 2 laps down at this point. So have to imagine that's his night done, unless we start to get a little crazy here with 50 laps to go in this race. So now it comes down to Nathan Jump, Mike McConville, Jackson Sims, Hunter Brittle, Christopher Heller are your top 5 as we are within 50 laps to go here at Charlotte.
You see, speaking of Chris Heller, he seems to be getting a little loose there on the straightaway there. So here comes Zach Henry looking to make a move. He's going to pop down to his inside here. Zach Henry going to try to get done. Sparks coming out from both of those cars. You can see the flame out the pipe from Zach. Zach's going to try to get back in the throttle here. It looks like he's going to be able to get the move done. Seems to move up a bit there, but they're going to be all good here. It's going to be a drag race to the line.
And Zach trying real hard to get through that corner and beat Heller off the corner, but unfortunately, Heller with the run able to maintain. He's going to get it again, though. Zach barely edging him off of turn 2 as Madalinas and Brandon Barkuski playing some games just ahead of him, and Madalinas driving in the back of Brandon Barkuski trying to give him push all the way through the corner, and now he's going to drive away on those fresh tires. But Hunter Brittle has passed Jackson Sims as well. We saw that very briefly, and he's now trying to drive away. Can Brittle potentially contend and take down Mike McConville, who's been sitting up there now 4.5 seconds ahead for the last, I don't know how many laps, but having to deal with Brent Kingcott has slowed him down a bit and put him potentially in the grasp of Hunter Brittle.
Yeah, I think the focus is gone from that 7 car. Hunter Madalinas knocked the wall down off of turn 2, almost got it again off turn 4.
Well, I hear someone getting the wall there. Not too sure what that was all about. Can't quite identify what the issue is here, but yeah, for sure. I'm definitely keeping my eye on Hunter Brittle here. You know, he's made his way back up to 3rd by the end of this run. We're at the point now where I feel like there's not really, nobody's going to try and short pit anybody here. I feel like everyone's going to come in at somewhat the same time. I feel like it would be silly to try and stretch this one out unless you're really hoping for a yellow. You know, if I'm Hunter Brittle right now, my strategy has accomplished what I wanted to do. Now maybe try and short pit just a tiny bit, not try and short pit by like 10 laps, but we are essentially in the window here now. Pit stops will be happening at any moment here for these guys.
Yeah, the pay window is definitely open. All these guys going to have to pit one more time. Only person who's not going to have to pit is Hunter Madalinas. So we might see him get back on to the, well, actually, I believe with those fresh tires, we will see him get back on the lead lap at this, once the pit stop cycle through. So Hunter Madalinas at this point just going to have to hope for a very finely timed caution. Watching the battle here between Zach Henry and Chris Heller. Pretty good battle here for the 5th position. Nobody seems to be able to get the advantage, as I think at this point they're just kind of toying with each other. They have a 19-second they have a 19-second gap ahead of them and a 19-second gap behind them. So so these 2 drivers just having a little bit of fun.
As it looks like Zach's finally able to get the job done here, but again, it's one of those things where, you know, maybe not so much early on in the runs when there's a pretty big tire disparity, but right now it seems that, you know, passing's hard. Plain and simple in these cars. This isn't, you know, like a lot of cars we drive nowadays where the tire advantage is so big that even late in the run you're able to just get on it and get by whoever you're trying to pass. These cars are not that, as Zach and Chris are demonstrating for us here, as Chris seems to be struggling a bit here behind Zach now.
See Sims hitting pit road right there. Locked it up. I think he made the speed line. Wouldn't want to see another driver get a speeding penalty here, but Jackson Sims kicks off our, well, technically second driver, but we're going to see Jackson Sims kick off our last round
There
of pit
is
stops.
no way Sims didn't get a speeding penalty. 66 at the line.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if Sims does not get penalized for. Yeah, he's definitely getting penalized. We see him still in his box. Definitely unfortunate there for Jackson Sims.
It's another driver falling victim to the timing line, being a little bit too aggressive coming to pit road.
I mean, compared to most tracks we race at, that's a pretty forgiving timing line. You know, you've got some time behind the wall. I know that definitely catches some guys out here. I know with the Indy 500 this weekend, that is a common thing, a difference between when they race the open wheel cars there at Indianapolis and the NASCARs. There's the pit roads are always a little different. Always seems to catch at least one or two people off guard there. And obviously today it caught Sims off guard.
Talk about catching someone off guard. McConville did not call out his pit stop, and Shane Neiswanger nearly just ran in the back of him with very much nowhere to go. As you can see, McConville, Kef, and Brittle all hit pit road. Shane had a bit of a scare. Didn't say anything over the radio, but that was definitely a little close for comfort. McConville going to short pit jump. Now one of the latest guys on track. Zach Henry, Chris Heller, Matt Durr all following him out there. That leaves 4 cars on the lead lap, but Jump's going to run this one a little bit long, which why not? You have an 8-second lead, you might as well. You don't have a whole lot to lose, and even if McConville does get there, he's not going to have the tire for you. So Jump has this one in command, and now we're just waiting to see how Madalinas' strategy works out here.
Nathan Jump on pit road. Here he comes. We're going to see how it changes out here. Mike McConville, most likely Jump's biggest threat here. Jump's going to be nice and conservative on pit road. You've got an 8-second lead. No need to lose it to a speeding penalty, as we've seen guys do today. So we're just going to have to wait to see how this cycles out. It would be very hard to imagine Nathan Jump not coming out with a pretty solid lead here.
Yeah, I don't even think that Madalinas is actually going to get back to the lead lap. Maybe if he wasn't messing around with Brandon Barkowski, he probably could have been right at the edge of that window. But Zach Henry still has yet to pit. Chris Heller is still on track with him. And Jump will take the lead as soon as these guys get done. 3 wide right there. You can see it very briefly with Brockman, Zach Henry, Hunter Brittle. Brittle trying to make up all that time, trying to close down on Mike McConville. It was still 4 seconds behind him before all these pit stops started.
That was a pretty wild split the middle move there from Brittle. Just takes it right up the middle, 3 wide, and says sayonara to those boys behind him.
Yeah, Brittle knows for sure that if he wants any chance here to, get it Jump through this green flag running, he's kind of gotta be like that. You gotta go. You can't wait. There's no waiting around, and it's probably all in vain as Nathan Jump is already at the start finish line, and looking here, Mike McConville is just getting off of 4, and Hunter Brittle's in the middle of 3 and 4. So Jump's still solidly inheriting that lead, but it's always worth it to try. Jump could have had an issue on pit road that Brittle didn't know about, so Brittle's pushing here for sure, but it might all be in vain here.
Well, he's pushing because he knows he only has 3.5 seconds to McConville, and he's actually cutting that down. Remember, it was nearly 4.5 seconds before the pit stop. You can see Eric Kep lightly catch the wall in front of him. He's got to try to get around these lap cars, but Kep on the same tires as Brittle, but Brittle trying to catch that 1 car right now.
Looking here as Nathan Jump continues to expand that lead at 29.8. His biggest challenger here, Mike McConville, is not up to pace. I believe he's currently ran a 30.1. We're going to see what he gets coming across the line here, but I'd be very surprised if it's anywhere near what Nathan Jump's running, a 30.0 there from Mike, and it's going to be a 29.8 from Nathan Jump. So we've got the drivers behind here have got a pretty tall task to catch Nathan Jump, provided there's no yellow flags here in the closing laps.
Yeah, I think we've well established. We're probably going to see, unless something terrible happens tomorrow night over in the Great Lakes Truck Series, we're going to see Nathan Jump lock up a championship. And tonight we're seeing Nathan Jump just kind of a continuation of his dominance over this group of guys specifically, as we see him retake the race lead with a 7-second lead over Mike McConville. And guys, I'm left to wonder. We saw Hunter Madalinas take a lot of time out of Jump over 2 pit cycles, and You know, I guess I'm just left to ponder out loud if, I guess if Slow and Steady does win the race. We've seen Jump be conservative with his pit cycles. We've seen him go out of his way to not make any mistakes. And if I was a betting man, I would say Nathan Jump is probably going to get done again here tonight.
Yeah, Nathan's kind of rise here through the ranks over at Great Lakes Racing and here just can't really be overstated. You know, he started racing with us, you know, maybe a year or two ago, not 100% sure on the timeline. Started racing with us on a controller and a lawn chair, looking at a TV, right? And he still managed to win. He still won that Bristol race on a controller, and ever since then, he's just hasn't looked back. Got a wheel, and ever since then, it's just been complete domination. I've never seen anyone force a jump into a mistake or anything along those lines. Here, we see Hunter Madalinas giving a bit of a hard time, but it's not going to matter here. Oh, Madalinas is going to door him. Oh, Madalinas in the door of Nathan Jump there.
I was going to say it's all kind of in vain, but if they wreck each other, then nothing's really in vain. But Madalina's trying to hold on for what would put him as the lucky dog. I believe he's actually going to hit pit road here, and that's his race all said and done. At this point, he's going to park it and be done with it. He was hoping for a yellow throughout that run. He didn't get it. I think he could have stayed out and waited for Matt Durr at least, because he could have had the free pass, but he is gone, and that's his race done and over.
Well, one final time, I guess we will step away for our final break of the night. You are watching the... I don't even know the name of this series anymore. You're watching the Underground Racing Association on Split Second Broadcasting. It's the Coca-Cola 300. We'll be back.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Or how did I get here?
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Hi, I'm Smokey Bear, and I made an assistant to help you out, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Hey, Assistant Smokey Bear, call me Papa Bear, because I'm grilling up dinner. Do you get it?
Yes, good job.
So, what should I do with all these coals?
Don't just toss them out. Put them in a metal container because those embers can start a wildfire.
I understand. The stakes are high.
Ha 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 ha.
See, Smokey thinks I'm funny.
Back live at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It is the Underground Racing Association Coca-Cola 300. We've got about 28 laps to go. Nathan Jump with a commanding lead over Mike McConville in P2. And guys, I guess from here on out, I'd say it's a battle for second. Nope, it is. Looks like it is going to be a battle for fifth.
Yeah, Brandon Markowski still out on this really long run here on the oldest tires. Zach Henry and Chris Heller on the newest tires right here, about to displace him. I mean, you got to give Brandon credit for trying. And again, if he couches a caution, he looks like a genius because he's still in the top 10. He's on the lead lap. It's going to be a while before he goes the lap down, but I just don't think he's going to get that yellow. The best chance he had was when Madalinas was trying to door bang Nathan Jump, and Robin Durr was hitting the wall, and a lot of stuff was going on, but no one seems to be in a position to bring caution out now. So, yep, 6 guys left in the lead lap, and Jump has his way with McConville and Brittle behind him.
Would be interesting to see what would happen if we had a little bit of a debris caution right now, but at the same time, I'm sure with how long these guys have been driving, they just want to get this thing over with.
Yeah, I'm still keeping it. Still keeping an eye here on Hunter Brittle, seeing if he can catch Mike McConville.
A couple drivers now talking about Eric Kep's bedtime, our resident elder, I'll call him. Mr. Pink out here running P10.
Just go ahead and say it, Elliot.
Well, you know, we always run GLR and everything around 8 o'clock, try to get it done before 9 so that Eric can get to bed nice and early, and we're running pretty far into this one, getting close to that bedtime, so.
That's the one downside. Drivers have keyed into the fact that we're scanning driver chat tonight, and they have spent the last 15 minutes trying to knock, I'd say us, but specifically me, off our rockers as this race, as the booth kind of comes off the rails as we're approaching 20 laps to go. There's Eric Kep, Mr. Pink, normally Mr. Yellow tonight. What is that? Is that a mellow yellow scheme on that 63 car? It sure is.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, I guess it goes with the mellow yellow, the lime color, but it looks kind of like an old throwback, an old. I don't know which throwback, but it looks like one of the old 77 or the 12 something. It looks like a Penske throwback or something, but good looking scheme.
Nathan Jump, maybe calling out my pit strategy there in GLR. You know, I didn't get to race tonight, so we wouldn't really see how I would have thrown out. I don't really know how I would have ran this race, to be honest with you. Taking a look at the whole situation, I honestly might have tried, maybe a Ross Brockman-esque strategy here tonight, just to try and, shake it up. It's obviously working out for Brandon a bit here. Not too sure what his running position was before, but I think he's definitely improved his 6th position here.
I do feel like working out is kind of a relative term, because if I'm not mistaken, Brandon Barkowski is going to have to... Oh, yeah. Yeah, Brandon Barkowski is definitely going to have to pit again.
As Brandon gets really loose off turn 2 there, he's trying to hang on to that thing, but he's going to go a lap down here, and as soon as Matt Durr gets to him, his strategy is going to be pretty much null and void. And, yeah, he's still going to have to pit again, so he's going to drop pretty far back at this point, all the way back to 12th, and have to drive his way back up.
That is one thing we can't say about this group of guys is nobody here is not willing to try a different pit strategy to gain an advantage. I think between GLR and GLTS and this race tonight, we've seen that we have a lot of guys that have just differing opinions on how to get things done. In the quest to kind of min-max the gain and the advantage that they can get, as we see Zach Henry and Chris Heller battling for the 4th position. These two, I don't think they could get away from each other. They seem to have been around each other every time we've looked at them for the last 150 laps at this point of the race, guys.
Zach got a little loose there off the corner. This is really the only battle for position we've got in here. Everyone else seems to be, pretty fairly decently apart here, but as Robin Durr's going to just be like, hey, excuse me, coming through, I just kind of need to get through you guys here. But no, definitely keeping an eye on Zach and Chris here. Really our last kind of, battle here. I don't really see many other cars close together.
Yeah, just looking around the track, the closest battle we have is a Battle No More. Matt Durr knocks Brandon Barkowski out of the lucky dog position. So that's going to be Brandon Barkowski's race pretty much sealed unless we get something crazy happening here in the next 17 laps.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd be bold enough to come down, try a 2-tire stop, and low fuel it or something. That'd be probably the only thing left in his pocket to potentially salvage anything, but him not being in the free pass position is pretty much done him in. And it kind of shows that long strategy wasn't really the play tonight, unfortunately. If he could have, if he could have had a caution fall his way, he could have looked like a genius. But throughout the night, that long strategy just hasn't really seemed to work for anybody but Hunter Brittle. Zach Henry's kind of hung in there, obviously running 5th, but can't even really keep with Heller right in front of him in 4th.
Yeah, for sure. I think, looking at some of those guys, definitely more of a trophy hunting mentality. With this league kind of being a new, first race here for the Underground Racing Association under this this regime. It was before mainly a truck and late model league, kind of fell off, and now Nathan Jump has brought, maybe a bit of repurposing to this league here as a first broadcast with the league, different cars, and it seems to be going well here as we've had a pretty good race so far.
Yeah, looking over at the schedule, it looks like this is not a weekly series for anybody who may be interested. Looking at the schedule, this is about a once-a-month thing with marquee-esque events. It looks like the next time we'll be together is June 17th. That'll either be at Kansas or Indianapolis. So those 2 events would definitely be a sight to behold with these cars.
Speaking to Nathan Jump a bit about the schedule, I definitely think everyone, the general consensus around the league was more towards those, those crown jewel events. Kansas is a phenomenal track. I'm sure the racing would be great in these, but no one really thinks of Kansas as a crown jewel event. The Brickyard, however, that's definitely a crown jewel for these guys. So, I think just for the general purpose of the league, maybe something to look into in the future for sure, but I think for sure we will be going to Indianapolis here for the next race. Jump was a little hesitant on car count with this league, but, a solid 21 guys. I know not all of them have finished here, obviously, but definitely a solid car count here. I'd be very surprised to see us not racing at Indianapolis next month.
Really sideways. Indy with these cars would be a ton of fun with how much grip they really don't have and how crazy the rears are. And I'm sure we're still not done with... I thought for sure we'd see at least one tire failure, but I guess they've all kind of stayed within the window of being able to avoid that. This battle between Heller and Henry is just raging on. It's kind of falling apart between Brittle and McConville. McConville's stuck about 8 seconds behind Jump. This is all we've really got between the 11 and the 12.
Yeah, the rest of the field kind of made their bed and are laying with it at this point. We are coming. It's going to be 10 laps to go, 11 laps to go at the line. Next time by, Nathan Jump enjoying his 8-second lead over Mike McConville. Hunter Brittle, Chris Heller, and Zach Henry are the top 5. And interestingly enough, that top 5, there is only 5 cars left on the lead lap. If we go green to the checkered, Elliot, you'll have to help me out here. I do believe this is going to be almost a at least a 140 lap run.
Close to 175.
Yeah, that math checks out.
I just watching Zach Henry back there and Chris Heller, Zach was trying to give us a bit of a yellow there. He's trying to get by Chris here. As this battle here for the 4th position still rages on. Zach got really sideways there off turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, as this race winds down, we can just close our eyes and pretend this is the the battle for the win. We're seeing Zach Henry. Yeah, you're right. He definitely got that right rear burn off as we see him sliding off of every corner. Chris Heller and Zach Henry, technically 25-11 teammates. I'm not entirely sure that there are teams in this league officially, but in name, they're definitely teammates over at 25-11.
I think the general rule with this league is there's teams. Obviously, you're gonna have that, almost in any iRacing league for the most part. I'd be very hard pressed for you to find a league that doesn't have teams. Maybe not like in the official form, but definitely guys that tend to work together a bit more. That's definitely the approach we've taken with ERA here. We're not really doing team points or anything like that, but obviously you're gonna have, some guys working with other guys, sharing strategies and sharing info and stuff like that.
Zach is absolutely suffering with those rear tires. He just can't really seem to get to Heller, trying to run the wall, trying to run the middle, trying to run the bottom, arcing really late now. And it does not seem to be doing anything for him. These guys, again, on the freshest tires, gaining on Jump lap after lap, but just brawling it out between each other, destroying their tires every time.
Yeah, you heard it. You can hear it on Zach Henry's onboard right there. You hear the RPMs fluctuating off the corner as that car, Henry doing everything in his power to keep that thing from coming around on him. Like we've seen so many drivers have an issue with tonight.
the higher horsepower with these cars definitely makes it harder to drive. You know, a lot of these guys, you know, they run. Not too sure what everyone does. Is Zach is really in the wall there. You know, just a lot of these guys, you know, run trucks on Tuesday. Not too sure what everyone does in their spare time, obviously, but these things drive nothing like the truck. And you know, even running officials and stuff like that, you know, you try and run this car long like you run the truck, you're not gonna have a very good time. Gotta wonder if maybe that's a trap that a couple of these guys have fallen into tonight.
Yeah, I just don't think they were really ready for how much these rear tires would wear out on them. Look at Zach just dog-legging off the corner. I don't even know what you call that, just sliding all the way out of the corner. Brockman has finally hit pit road. He was about 5-6 laps short there. Barkowski, we already talked about hitting pit road, so their races are officially done. And we've got 5 more laps here as Jump comes off of turn 4 to finish this one out. McConville's dropped to 9 seconds off. Brittle still about 14 seconds off that lead. So Jump just in his own element ever since Madalena's flipped his pit strategy, and no one could touch the 9 car tonight.
Well, it feels like every time we see Jump on track, he is winning something. Looking through my notes here, Jump does have a you know, we all know he's pretty much locked in to win a championship tomorrow night. Also over in GLR, Jump is a winner of a Gen 4 series, so that's another series where tire management, car management, and that whole kit and caboodle come into play. But with 3 laps to go here, Jump is going to take quite the commanding victory in a 300-mile race.
Yes, for sure. You know, Nathan Jump put on a clinic. You know, even with Hunter Madalenas, he seemed to just have the leg up on strategy, pace, everything. Nathan Jump has just like I said, put on an absolute clinic for these guys tonight. You know, he really wanted this league to work. You know, I'd say it's definitely worked out this first race, and it seems like he's going to even be the lucky one on the end of winning it.
Yeah, I feel like the only time Madalenas really had him was right at the beginning of the race. It looked like Jump had the pace, but he kind of saved tire a little bit, but then he couldn't really get back to Madalenas, and they were just dead even all the way through that first run, and then right up to the first pit stop under green. That was kind of what flipped everything for Madalenas. He just ran a little bit too long, and ever since then he was just trying to play catch up, and obviously with that penalty, and Jump was just able to navigate that and just ran short. He short pit him at the perfect time to make that work, keep about a 2-second lead, and then just played it perfect from there on. Didn't speed, didn't do anything wrong, didn't set a tire out anywhere. And I mean, here we come through 3 and 4, coming around to take the white flag, and Jump has just absolutely dominated the back half of this race.
White flag in the air, so this race is all but over for these guys. Nathan Jump is going to work his way through turns 1 and 2, and he's going to be looking to pick up the checkered flag in the first race of this newly rebuilt Underground Racing Association. New management, new leadership, new schedule. As Nathan Jump going to work his way through turns 3 and 4. Barney the flagman has the checkered flag in the air, and Nathan Jump is going to take the victory in the Coca-Cola 300.
Yeah, what a drive from Nathan Jump. Almost a 10-second gap there on Mike McConville at the end. 15 seconds separate first to third. What a clinic. Drove everything he needed to do. Held off Hunter Madalenas before Madalenas faced that penalty. Was still able to outpace Mike and Brittle. Just a phenomenal drive overall from Nathan Jump.
Congratulations all around in driver chat for Nathan Jump. Poking a little bit of fun at him as well, but I think that is probably called for when you win a race in such a dominating fashion. Burnouts on the front straightaway for Nathan Jump in that 9 car, guys.
Yeah, I think at the other end of the spectrum, you've got to be pretty impressed with guys like Brittle and McConville for hanging in there. Brittle obviously drove up pretty far. Heller from 17th all the way up to 4th. I think there's a lot of different stories coming out of here, and it'll be interesting to see how the series progresses and what else they decide to run. Obviously, Jump did all he could as the winner here tonight, but McConville and Brittle and Heller all back behind him definitely show a lot of promise moving forward.
Yeah, especially as, looking here at Mike McConville, made his way up from 5th to 2nd. No, we talked about how hard passing was, whether it be by strategy or just on track pace. You know, Mike was able to get it done and secure that 2nd place here. Hunter Brittle and Chris Heller, too, with phenomenal drives coming, from 11th and 17th, respectively, to work their way up into a position where, if something did happen to Nathan Jump, whether it be a caution or something like that, those two were ready to pounce. So phenomenal job overall from those two, and just a phenomenal job overall from everybody in here to have this race go caution free, with the exception of that early caution.
Well, we've got 3rd place finisher Hunter Brittle in the booth. Brittle, it was a run for you from 11th all the way up to 3rd. It was pretty dicey back there in the middle, but you ended up front. Just give us your overall perspective of how 300 or 200 laps, 300 miles went here tonight at Charlotte with these 2013 cars.
Yeah, how about that run coming back out of the booth, back onto the track? It felt good to be back out here. Yeah, starting not where I wanted to, but I knew it was just a matter of saving the rear tires on these as much as possible with how powerful these cars are, and that's something that I've struggled with for a long time, but recently gotten a lot better at it. And yeah, we just kind of methodically picked our way up through there. It was a lot of fun to race with those guys, and then. Usually, that the pit strategy, the strategy isn't really to split it like that and pit a little earlier. I would have thought that the strategy was to go long, and that's what caught me out there. So I tried to make up for it. Managed to salvage a nice 3rd place though. So still got to work on my strategy, but all in all, a good race and good finish.
Yeah, do you think there was anything, if you would have started up towards the front or had a yellow at the end, anything you could have done with Jump or McConville? You seemed at pace against McConville, but Jump just seemed to be a little bit out there in his own element. Anything you feel like you could have done on a shorter run to maybe pass those guys and put yourself in victory circle?
Yeah, Jump and Madeline, their own zip code. It was crazy to watch them just kind of go off into the distance. But yeah, like I said, I did feel like I had some short run speed, and that they really tires really fell off there right at about the lap 30 mark in a run. We could go about 52 to 54 laps if you really saved it on fuel. So right about that lap 30 mark for me was when it all started to fall apart, and I'm sure you guys could see it up there in the booth. But we had a good solid group up there in the top 5. Obviously, Madalena and Jump were doing their thing, but me, McConville, Heller, Henry, and then Greg and Jackson, I wish they could have stuck around for a little bit longer. It was a lot of fun racing them. I don't know if I had anything for the top 2, but if I hadn't gotten caught out on the strategy, I definitely think I could. I definitely think y'all would be interviewing me 2nd instead of 1st.
Yeah, solid run regardless, just a hair short of 2nd place. Anyone you want to thank for tonight's run?
I want to thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Obviously, I'm not in the booth this time. I'm back in the car, and it's great to switch it up, and I'm glad to be back out. But thank you guys for putting this on. I know each of you would like to be out here running it with us, but you're giving us a good show up there, and we appreciate that. I want to thank the guys who put this league on. Jump especially, he's been a really big driving force in this. I know he's been wanting this for a really long time, and it finally happened for him. With a very good showing here, 22 cars, or 21 cars really, is not a bad showing for the first race out in a car that hasn't seen official iRacing capacity. I was not part of the service when that was a thing, so that's an awesome job for him. And then Jackson Sims as well. I know he's the other spearheader with this. Gavin, I know you wrote the rule book in this, so thanks to you on this one, and everybody who's a part of URA. And then lastly, I got to thank all the Dark Horse boys that I was hanging out with over in the other channel with them. They were keeping me company all night long, but not filling up my ear too much, but enough to give me good information and keep me entertained all night long. So I want to thank them, and Shane Nicewanger, especially team owner. He does a good job of corralling all of us.
Well, it was a stellar run, and we look forward to anything that happens moving forward. Obviously, these guys aren't racing on a weekly basis, but hopefully we'll catch you in the next one. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish, and we'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, and next up we've got 2nd place finisher Mike McConville. Gavin?
Hello, so Mike congrats on the good run. Great drive up there from 5th to 2nd. Can you just walk us through kind of your night here throughout these 200 laps?
I knew I didn't have the raw pace I needed to fight Madalinas and jump. I just wanted to settle in early, get a rhythm going, and see where the cautions lay. We only had one, which is fantastic for 300 miles, especially with this car. It was very snap loose off if you didn't take care of the throttle, and things just fell our way. We ran a little bit of strategy, pitting. I think it was like somewhere around like 65 to 70, a couple laps for everyone. Jumped us from, I want to say like 8th, 9th to 2nd, 3rd, and away we went, man. We were by ourselves for, it felt like 2/3 of this race.
Yeah, for sure. That's what it looked like from up here. It just seemed you were always kind of stuck in that, 6-ish second gap there from Hunter and Nathan. If you had the time back, is there anything you would have ran differently from this race, or just run it out the same?
If all things the same, where the caution fell around 25, there's not much I could have changed to have kept up. I got stuck on the outside after one of the caution, and it put me back. I think I was running 4th at the time, and I fell back to 9th. Other than that, maybe pushing a little harder there to keep some of the track position. But the way it was tonight, we needed another caution to catch up, and maybe would have had something for jump. We were matching lap times there the last run, but I'm sure he was just pedaling, keeping the gap regular, or keeping it equal. But man, one caution I would have loved to see what I could have done.
Yeah, for sure. As we were up here in the booth rooting for you, is there anyone out there that you'd like to thank for the 2nd place result today?
I want to thank you guys, first off, putting on the broadcast for URA. Unfortunately, this might be one and done depending on where the other races fall. I have other obligations I got to run Monday, but it was fantastic being out to support this new league popping up. Hopefully I get the chance to run some more. I want to thank everyone back at TCR. The team put together a hell of a paint scheme. Always loved Trent and what he puts together for me. Thank my mom and dad. I know they're watching somewhere. Big shout out to them. Can't wait actually to go back and maybe not watch all of this race, but definitely watch the exciting parts, see what else was going on out there.
Yeah, for sure, Mike. We are looking forward to having you back. Looking forward, hoping to see you back up in here at some point throughout the rest of this URA season.
Absolutely. Hope to be back.
All right, thank you.
And last but not least, our winner and league owner, Nathan Jump. Honestly, the most dominant performance we've seen in a while, but in a completely different car, not what we're used to, and against some of your usual stiff competition that just didn't seem to put in the type of work that you did tonight. Madalena is probably your biggest competitor. How do you feel after tonight's event, 300 miles, 200 laps here at Charlotte?
I feel sore and I think I need a painkiller because damn, I'm all choked up on my backside, man. It hurts, but I think it was pretty fun racing all night. And Madalenas, he was quick. I guess he spun later in that run, but he was the dog to chase there, and I think I had him on the long run. But yeah, I had a good time. I appreciate everybody staying as long as they did because I know that's a long race, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, you guys definitely put in some effort with that race, especially at the beginning. But towards the end, you pretty much had a stranglehold on it. He ended up speeding on pit road, but you had enough of a buffer there to really make it work at the end. Do you think with the late race caution, anything else would have happened, or do you think you kind of had the pace there to hold off McConville and Hunter Brittle?
I think a late race caution could have changed a lot of things because on the restarts in turn 1 you're just sideways and you're probably 50% gas just trying to keep it straight. I thought we'd have some cautions because of that, but the field did a pretty good job, actually a really good job, because honestly we only had one caution, so there's nothing to complain about there.
Yep. So obviously we talked a little bit about this league, but if you want to go ahead and give us a little bit of the 411 on how this progresses forward, I think we talked about like a monthly schedule. Do you have any further information on maybe next race, next place we're going, when it's happening, if you want to go ahead and shout it out?
We're still in discussions of what we want to do. We are just doing a once a month big race. I mean, we could have a race here and there, a little short one, just to keep the group active if we want to have some fun. But the main thing will be once a month, and yeah, we're recruiting anybody. We'll take anybody, whether you're fast, slow, new, young, old. You know, we'll take anybody. We're just trying to get some numbers, and we had 22 people tonight, which kind of shocked me. I was hoping for maybe 15, but when we had 22 or somewhere around there, I was really grateful. And shout out to these guys. That's a lot of laps, and that's a lot of work. And I know it's easy to quit if it's just a green flag race like that, but they hung in there as much as they could, and I appreciate that from them.
Yeah, I think it was 170 plus green flag laps tonight. So a very long one here, but pretty good show all the way through between different battles. Anyone else you want to thank tonight before we go off the air?
Well, I think I have to thank you guys. You guys jumped on this and are helping me out, so yeah, I'm very grateful to you guys. That's a long race, and you guys didn't have to do that, especially Gavin jumping in the booth, you jumping in the booth, Jeff putting this on. Shout out EHG Design, get some paint schemes over there, some work, anything like that. It's brand new stuff. Yeah, man, just mainly appreciate you guys and the 22 of us that showed up and hung through there.
Well, that is your winner tonight, Nathan Jump. We hope to, we will see you back in the next one, and hopefully, maybe we'll see the same dominant performance or something a little bit more exciting. But regardless, a great job tonight. Appreciate everything going on, and look forward to seeing you in the next one.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for real, for real.
All right, we'll move on to results here and get this show off the air. But coming up, obviously, big win, led half the race. The 9-car Nathan Jump, 103 laps, led, started second, and bested all the competition tonight to win over a 9-second margin over Mike McConville, who obviously started fifth, moved up to second. Pretty solid night for him. But how about the two guys third and fourth? Hunter Brittle and Chris Heller started back towards the rear or towards the middle of the pack, drove up to top 5 positions. Really solid runs for them. Zach Henry right there in fifth, as you'd normally expect. Just top 5 on death. Matt Durr, we didn't talk about him pretty much all night. Ends up 6th. Started 20th. Pretty much shotgun on the field. Really solid run for him. Shane Neiswanger, the other dark horse driver right there in 7th. Jackson Sims finishes 8th after his issue on pit road. Eric Kepfin 9th. And Robin Durr, who started dead last, drove all the way up to a top 10 to finish in 10th. Gavin, take the rest of the field.
So in 11th here place, we've got Brandon Barkowski trying that different strategy from everyone else. Didn't quite pan out for him. He will come home in 11th position, along with Ross Brockman, who also was on the same strategy as Brandon, roughly, led 1 lap, will finish in the 12th position. In the 13th, we've got story of the night. Hunter Madalinas was unable to get by and compete with Nathan Jump. He will fall back to 13th place after a penalty on pit road. Brent Kingcott in 14th. Had an incident on the front straightaway. He'll finish 14th. William Barbagelata having some troubles. Ended up finishing 15th. Greg Mitchell also receiving a penalty, finishing 16th. Alex Fox in 17th there. Lewis Woodall in 18th. Preston Henry 19th. And Rod Fosno in 20th position.
And I believe that's the rest of the field. I don't believe anybody ran 21st, 22nd. And we are pretty much done with this one. Pretty interesting night, obviously. A pretty long one for the Coca-Cola 300. 300 miles, 200 laps. But obviously looking forward to the next time this happens in about a month or so with the URA, the Underground Racing Association. I'm Elliot Henderson with Gavin Fitzgerald and Jeff Johnson. Until next time, good night.